Welcome once again to Population Genetics and Evolution Unit 5, Session 2, Key Concepts Underlying Natural Selection. And by the end of this session, students should be able to list the key concepts of natural selection and explain the modes of natural selection. Natural selection is a process that brings about the evolution of new species of animals and plants according to Darwinism. Then the size of population remains constant regardless of more offspring produced, existence of variation between individuals of the population. Survivors pass on heritable advantageous characteristics with high survival value to offspring over time. Natural selection operates on the variation in traits that characterize a population. It affects the individuals that survive and reproduce under existing environmental conditions from one generation to the next. Natural selection is capable of acting at multiple hierarchical levels on genes, on cells, on individuals, on populations, on species, and on larger clades. Modes of natural selection. Stabilizing selection. In this type, the intermediate forms of a trait in a population are favored, and alleles for the extreme forms are not. It tends to preserve the intermediate phenotypes of the population. Example, body weights that should preferably be within healthy range. When a person is underweight or overweight, the individual tends to suffer from a series of health-related problems, including blood pressure, diabetes, and heart disease. Disruptive selection. Here, the forms of a trait in a population at both ends of the range of variation are selected for favored and intermediate forms are selected against. It aims to preserve the distal ends of forms of a trait in a population. Example, in human population, gender is of a population is generally male or female. For individuals with intermediate traits, often have less reproductive successes. In African fringe population, selection pressure favor birds with bills or beaks that's 12 to 15 millimeters wide due to competition for scarce food resources during the local dry season. So in review, natural selection is a process that brings about the evolution of new species of animals and plants. Size of population remains constant regardless of more offspring produced. Survivors pass on heritable advantageous characteristics with high survival value to offspring over time. It affects the individuals that survive and reproduce under existing environmental conditions from one generation to the next. There are two modes of natural selection. These are stabilizing selection and disruptive selection.